Suppose for a minute that you've been a diligent saver your entire life, and over the years you've accumulated quite a nest egg of assets. So much so, in fact, that you could potentially retire in your early 50s, maybe even years ahead of age 59 and a half, when the IRS will allow you to begin making penalty-free withdrawals from your IRAs or employer-sponsored retirement plans. The problem is any non-qualified withdrawals before age 59 and a half come with a 10% early withdrawal penalty. Now you know you don't want to pay that 10% penalty, but you also don't want to keep working for years and years when you don't even need the money. The good news is there are a few options. First, there are ways to tap your retirement accounts early. We've done a separate video on those, which we'll link above and in the description below. But there's a chance you won't want to use any of those strategies either. Another option is to build a bridge account designed to carry you from whenever you retire, say your early 50s, until you do reach age 59 and a half and can begin to make penalty-free withdrawals from those retirement accounts. So what is a bridge account? Well, most often a bridge account is a savings or taxable investment account that's funded with after-tax dollars. Now obviously you can open a savings account with any bank. You can open a taxable brokerage account with one of hundreds of investment companies nationwide. If you do, I would choose one that provides access to low-cost investments and has an easy-to-use website. Also, on our next dollar roadmap, bridge accounts come in at milestone 6. This is right after saving 15 to 25% of your annual income for retirement. You need to remember that this comes after your normal retirement savings. Keep things in their proper order. After all, there's no point in building a bridge to a retirement that's not funded properly. Now, there are several advantages to bridge accounts. The first one is tax savings. Through at least 2025 will be taxed at the income brackets that are on your screen. There's a 10%, 12%, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37% brackets. But one of the great features about generating earnings or income from an investment account is that long-term capital gains are taxed at a lower rate. Long-term capital gains are taxed at 0, 15, and 20%, and those brackets are always lower than their corresponding income tax brackets. Now, to be a long-term gain, you must own the asset for at least 1 year before you sell the asset and realize the gain. The great thing about building wealth in a taxable brokerage account is these long-term gains can save you a lot of money in taxes. I want to point out that capital gains sit on top of income when you're figuring out your tax brackets. That means long-term capital gains won't ever push your income into another bracket, but it's possible that your capital gains will reach into higher brackets because your income is sitting under them, elevating them to that level. So it's conceivable that you could have income in a 12% bracket and capital gains all the way to 15 and 20%. But that means the vast majority of your income would come in the form of long-term capital gains, which is kind of unlikely. A second advantage of bridge accounts is control over your income. By drawing income from a bridge account, you control when you realize the income. This means you control when you realize a taxable event. This is true if the bridge account is the only source of income you have, but also well into your 60s when you finally have access to those retirement accounts. That's helpful because it gives you a variety of tax buckets from which you can realize income. So maybe in the year when you're trying to keep your income taxes low, you pull money out of Roth accounts and then maybe take some long-term capital gains off the table. Or maybe in a year when you can afford to realize more in taxable income, you take money out of the traditional IRA account. Having a taxable, tax-deferred, and after-tax bucket gives you kind of leverage that you can pull and control your tax situation. This is especially helpful in the years leading up to RMDs when you're trying to do conversions maybe, or trying to reduce your traditional IRA balance so your RMDs aren't so big whenever you reach that age. And conversions is the third benefit of bridge accounts. I just touched a second ago on the benefits of potentially converting funds from a traditional or tax-deferred account into a Roth. Unfortunately, the conversion of these funds does create a taxable event. If you don't have a lot of cash available from somewhere else, you might have to cannibalize the funds from your conversion to pay the tax. That's far from ideal. In most cases, people use cash savings or money from brokerage accounts to pay the tax bill for those conversions. When you combine this with the fact that long-term capital gains are taxed at lower rates, the bridge account produces a sort of double benefit, minimizing your taxes as much as possible. A fourth benefit of bridge accounts is money for large purchases. A bridge account kind of serves as your dream fund. It's where you pay for things like big trips, maybe fancy cars, vacation homes, maybe you want a new house. It gives you a place to save and stage money for all these things, or a place to leave it and let it grow. Just having a large amount of money available in those accounts gives you the flexibility to do all the things you've dreamed about for years. Finally, bridge accounts create tax beneficial giving strategies. So those of you who are charitably minded, you can use a bridge account to actually give money to charity. By donating appreciated shares of stock, you get a tax deduction for your gift while also receiving a free step-up basis in your taxable account. For example, let's say you have $5,000 in XYZ company stock and you want to make a $5,000 deduction to ABC Charity. $4,000 of the stock is basis, another $1,000 is long-term capital gains. Instead of just writing a check, you call your broker and ask him to send $5,000 of XYZ stock directly to ABC Charity. In so doing, you'll receive a $5,000 tax deduction for your gift. But let's assume at the same time you also buy $5,000 of XYZ stock when the donation's made. In other words, you use the $5,000 you could have just given to the charity to buy more stock instead. This means at the end of the transaction, you've made a $5,000 donation to charity, and you also own $5,000 in XYZ company stock, just like you did before the donation. You also still get a tax deduction for the donation, but now your tax basis on XYZ company stock is $5,000 instead of $4,000, and you've protected $1,000 from long-term capital gains tax. But the more you give, the more valuable this is. And if you give regularly and you have a lot of long-term gains inside of a taxable brokerage account, this could potentially become a very valuable tool. So there you go, bridge accounts. Now admittedly, these are sort of a later life planning tool for those of you who are building wealth, but there are a lot of great ways to use them. If this video is helpful to you, you can show your appreciation by clicking the like and subscribe buttons below. We have tons more on our YouTube channel and at martinmoney.com, our website. As always, we're thankful for your time and attention. God bless and take care.